Hey everybody, I'm Circus and welcome to our new series called Duel Academy. This is where we want to reach out to new players that might need some help with the game with deck building, playing competitively, playing on the ladder. What you see on the screen right here is a deck that I ran into in my Legend rank up match. The guy was fresh out of gold. I felt like his deck was maybe a little unfocused and needed some help. A deck like this would definitely get you out of Platinum, but it probably wouldn't get all the way through Legend and get you to King of Games. So what we want to do tonight is take a look at it, see if we can streamline a little bit and make it better. So I brought in my friends Kamell and Rye to discuss that with you. And Kamell, what do you see immediately here that could be changed or made better?
Right, so the first issue that I see with this deck is something that a lot of new players, it's a mistake that a lot of them make, and it's that their deck is over 20 cards for no reason. Part of the name of the game for Duel Links is that the least amount of cards you can have in your deck is 20 cards. So what does that mean? You draw the cards you need for your win condition a lot sooner. So if you go over 20 cards for no reason, then it makes it a lot harder for you to do that. And people who are running 20 cards, they're going to get to the things they need before you do every single time.
So it's like a probability
Right,
issue,
right.
right?
That's the name of the game for Duel Links, man. Speed duels. You get to your win condition faster, you win the duel faster. That's how it works. And the next issue I see is another thing that a lot of new players do, and it's something I did as well, is playing a bunch of flashy removal cards at one of each. And this issue goes in tandem with making your card count over 20 cards. So we see this guy's playing the DD Warrior Lady, the Guard, the Warrior, stuff like this. This does not contribute to you winning the duel overall, right? If you're using these monsters, you're using a valuable normal summon each turn where you're not progressing your deck closer to its win condition. You're just using it for one time removal. And if you're doing that and it's going to increase your card count, well, then you're doing two things wrong. So,
Because
things to look
basically
out
you're
for.
trading one for one, but you're not getting any advantage out of it.
Exactly. You're going one for one, but the rest of your deck is suffering. That one for one is not, it's only going to get you far for a turn,
Yeah.
essentially.
So you use your normal summon, they attack into it, you lose a card, they lose a card, and it hasn't progressed your game state at all. Because you want to get to your win con, right? Your win condition. And Rye,
Exactly.
wanted to talk about that a little bit, right?
Yeah, so win conditions in Duel Links are extremely important, especially with our smaller deck size compared to regular TCG Yu-Gi-Oh! Most of the time, your deck can only do one, maybe two different types of win conditions. And when we say win conditions, there's plenty in the game. So, for example, if your deck just brings out a lot of big, high attack monsters, it's a beatdown deck. Your whole strategy revolves around bringing out big monsters faster than the other guy and just attacking direct to kill them. There are decks that play a lot of back row cards, hand traps to essentially stall out your opponent while slowly burning them or maybe causing them to lose all the cards in their deck and winning through that method as well. So when you're playing decks that are more than 20 cards, not only is it harder to get to those ways that your deck actually wins the game rather than just playing a bunch of really good cards and hoping that you just end up winning the game. You can have a more decisive victory, which will boost your consistency of victories, which makes you streak faster and ranked, which will ultimately let you rank up faster.
Now with this deck, I think the win con is supposed to be he gets into Dark Cavalry or Amulet Dragon, right? But his win con is diluted, I guess, drowning within his deck. He can't get to it.
Yeah, so if I were to look at this deck right now, I would say the win condition would be to play around your Dark Magicians and all the toolboxing that you would get with them. You would play your Dark Magicians, and you have your expanded, your Dark Magic attack, your Thousand Knives. You have equips like Power of the Guardian, and then you have Destruction like Raigeki Break. These all kind of assist your Dark Magician in winning you that duel. through uses of the circle, through the Thousand Knives, through just attacking direct. The name of the game here is to get to your Dark Magician monsters so they can kind of boost you to a higher level.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the deck. We're going to streamline it a little bit and kind of give you an idea of what you could do to improve and help you climb the ladder. All right, so here's the after. Kamell, how do we come up with this list?
All right, so the first thing we took into account when making this list is the player's card pool, right? We noticed in the old deck list that they only had one circle and one navigation. Clearly, if they had more, they'd be playing them, but they don't. So this is kind of the bare minimum for a Dark Magician deck, right? Everything here is an absolute necessity, and everything here is obtainable through basic progression, ranked duels, events, character level ups, card trader, and then with the one circle, one navigation. If you're going to play Dark Magician, you would need one copy of these cards. So there you go.
The navigation, if you save up enough gems, would be an easy UR to add to this, right? Because it's in a mini, and there's 3 URs on that, so it'd be fairly easy to obtain a second one.
Right. So your path to a optimal Dark Magician deck is right in front of you.
All right, right. So we were talking about win conditions before. What's the win condition now?
Yeah, so when we took a look at the before deck, we identified what were the strongest cards in that deck and what those win conditions would be, and we simplified it so we would get to that win condition more consistently. So we figured that this deck would consist around Dark Magician and using its several different tools in order to win the game. One of the most powerful ones being the Dark Magical Circle to help banish cards on the board. Obviously, Dark Magician himself, 2,500 attack. That's nothing to laugh at, especially when you have Dark Magic Expand to boost him even higher. He can deal a lot of life point damage with that. You also have backups with your Knight and Sorcerer to synchro, your Eye of Timaeus to go into your fusion, so you have extra deck support for extra outs. And then on top of that, we always have Enemy Controller, which helps you win certain matchups that you think you're not going to win by easily taking your opponent's monster and swinging in for that lethal.
All right, right. So what were you thinking when you took some of the cards out and added other ones in?
Yeah, so going through all the different cards that we have here, I tried to keep as many cards that he already had from the original deck. The only ones that I really added were things like Illusion Magic that are super, super simple to get, and they really, really help boost the consistency of this deck. When you have things, for example, like Magician of Dark Illusion, that's a really good card on your opponent's turn. If you just play a spell or trap, you can just summon him from your hand. That just helps trigger your Dark Magical Circle if you are unable to open your one of Magician Navigation, or if you just don't have the combo in your hand. Magician's Rod is a fantastic card in this deck, probably the best card in this deck because it searches so much of your deck. Anything that has Dark Magician minus Eye of Timaeus in its card text, you can search for it. So if you have, for example, the Dark Magical Circle, and you just need your navigation to get into that really powerful combo, you can search that navigation with this card.
But anytime you can search straight from the deck, that's huge.
Anytime, that boosts your consistency at that point because you're gaining a card out of that, and it's a card that you're guaranteed to get, so it's not random what card you're getting. Like
you're
drawing,
going into the deck and you're getting what you need. It's not just draw a card off the top of your deck. Go in and get what you need.
Exactly. I also added in Knight and Sorcerer. You can use this card for synchro plays. It's summonable with Magician's Navigation, and that's really cool. But the really cool effect is if you get the special summon effect, you can take 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard and banish them. And that's super important because you're denying your opponent their resources in their graveyard. In Yu-Gi-Oh!, if a card is in the graveyard, it doesn't necessarily mean it's dead. Certain decks, for example, Shiranui, can continuously gain resource from the graveyard.
Right. Yeah. So for some decks, it's like a second hand.
Exactly. Second hand, second field, if you will,
right,
to kind of continue their plays. And this can kind of help in those matchups. Of course, triple Dark Magician, he's the everything's centered around him. Everything revolves around him.
A lot of the card texts say if you control a Dark Magician.
Exactly. So it's very, very important that you get to Dark Magician. Of course, a circle, we talked about it earlier. It's one of your win conditions, helps you banish cards on the board, but it also helps you with your consistency. You look at the top 3 cards of your deck. If there's a Dark Magician card, you add it to your hand. That's the second best searcher that you have beyond Magician's Rod. I would argue that we talked about earlier that getting a navigation would be super, super simple. It's in a mini box. It's very easy to get to. Getting at least 2 circle would boost the consistency of this deck so much that I would at least go for 2 circle before getting more navigations.
Okay.
But of course, that just comes down to personal preference sometimes.
Right. How willing you are to grind through a main box.
Exactly. Main boxes can be tough. The expanded, we only played 1 expanded before. I doubled it up to 2. You could play 3. 2 is more than enough. This is more of a utility. A card has several different effects. You can search it with Rod. Definitely not a bad card to play. Probably one of the first ones I dropped for like the circle and stuff like that. But not bad whatsoever, especially to get your Dark Magicians stronger and make them unaffected by other card effects. Dark Illusion, or Illusion Magic rather, is fantastic. You get it from ranking up in Arcana. You can tribute one of your weaker monsters to add more Dark Magicians to your hand, which just helps you use your Dark Magician effects faster. Dark Magic Attack, we kept that from the other deck. Destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. Enemy Controller, before we had a lot, both Treacherous Trap Hole and Enemy Controller. It's better to kind of decide which one you have. I didn't want to presume that he had 2 Treacherous Trap Holes, so I just went for 2 Enemy Controllers. It's super simple to get with rank tickets. And
still
just
one of the best card in the game, right?
Yeah, one of the earliest cards and still one of the best that you can obtain. Having 2 Treacherous Trap Hole would be better in this deck specifically, but if you don't have it, that's fine. You can still use this. You can use it on your opponent's turn to trigger Illusion Magician, which could trigger your Circle. There's still plenty of plays you can make with this card. We have Dark Magic Veil, of course, since we have Illusion Magic, and we have several ways to add Dark Magician to our hand. Getting him out onto the board with just 1,000 life point cost is fantastic. Eye of Timaeus will let you go into those fusion monsters. Those help you get outs to decks that can stall you out. And then just more utility with Thousand Knives. These are all cards that are searchable. They're not cards, for example, Power of the Guardian, which is a fantastic card in its own. Doesn't really fit this archetype specifically. You don't want to go 1+1. You want to go you want to go 2 times 2 in order to go into a better kind of end result with your cards.
Okay.
Great point, Rye. And to take what Rye said, notice how Rye was able to go over every single card in the deck and give you a reason for why it's there. As a new player, you should have the same habit. The cards that we remove from the deck do not have a strong reason to be there. The one of removals do not help your core, which is Dark Magician, Berry Magician Girl, and Dark Magician Girl, although they kind of seem like they're related, they don't help your Dark Magician win con get going. So as a new player, you want to think about every card you put in and how it helps your win con pop off.
And then to Kamell's point, I think a lot of people put cards in the deck because they're like, what if I'm in this situation? What if I'm in that situation? Right. There's no deck that covers every situation you're going to run into. Every deck's going to have its weakness. You just have to learn to play around your weaknesses and play to your strengths. So don't stress out about having a deck that can handle everything. Some games you're just going to lose. You're just going to lose no matter what happens. They're going to start with a god hand. You're going to start with a terrible hand. You just move on. A deck like this, you're going to get your magicians out. You're going to be banishing cards. You're going to win some games.
Right, you can't play around everything.
All right, so yeah, if you liked what you saw here, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. We want to do some more of these style of videos in the future. So in the comments, tell us what you want to see. We'd really appreciate it. Kamell, what else can they do?
Right, so they can check out our Twitch channel. You can benefit from that as well if you are a new player. Learn how the competitive community works. Check out our Twitter for updates when we go live, and our Discord also for updates when we go live, and to talk to the rest of the DLE community.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Circus. That's Rye. That's Kamell. We'll see you next time.
Peace out, guys.
Later.
So you guys like the video, you like what we're doing here, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Oh, what just happened? Who did that? Why did you do that?
I thought you were done.
No,
After you're done.
I thought we were going to transition screens at that point.